So you've made that big decision that you're going to pursue the ACCA, but you're wondering where to start. This is the right video for you. Hi there, welcome to my channel. My name is Belinda. If you're new here, Afro Girl Diaries is all about beauty, brains, and African sauce. Today's video is focused on getting you started. You've just decided that you're going to do the ACCA and you're wondering what to do. So I'm just going to explain step by step some of the key things that I believe you would need to do to get started with the ACCA. So first thing you'd need to do is to register on their website. But you may be wondering, should I register for the full ACCA qualification or should I register for foundation? So if you'd like to pursue the ACCA qualification itself, so that is applied knowledge, applied knowledge level, applied skills level, then strategic professional level, then you'd need, which is the ACCA qualification itself, then you'd need to have either a degree already, or you have university entrance level type of qualification, so something like A levels, BTech. So basically the type of qualifications that you would need to be able to enter into university to do a degree are the same you'd need to be able to pursue the full ACCA. If you don't have any of these qualifications, it doesn't mean that you can't get started with the ACCA. You just need to pursue the foundations level first before you can get started with the applied knowledge level, which is the first level. So applied knowledge usually has 3 exams, and that used to be called F1, F2, F3. Then applied skills usually has 6 exams. That used to be F4 to F9. And then after that, you get to do the advanced level, which is strategic professional level, which is the last stage of the qualification. And it usually has 4 exams. So that's 2 mandatory, and then you get to choose 2 others from a choice of, I think, 4 exams. So in total, you do around 13 papers. That's when you're doing the full ACCA qualification. Of course, if you do not have, if you're not eligible to do the full qualification, then you just need to pursue a foundation course first, which is offered by ACCA, and then you'd be able to get on and start with the F1 to F3 papers. So I hope that was clear. When you're registering, there is a fee, of course, and you'd fill in a form. You'd be able to confirm your academic qualifications. Of course, they will ask for some evidence, and also you'd be able to confirm any other relevant qualifications that you've done. So you may have started maybe the ACA, which is a completely separate qualification, but such things are relevant to highlight in your form because you may be able to qualify for some exemptions. So not everyone starts at F1. Some people are fortunate enough to start maybe from F5, but you wouldn't be able to jump straight to strategic professional. I think the exemptions would only apply to applied skills and applied knowledge papers, unless of course you're doing a completely similar type of qualification like ACA. In that case, you'd probably be able to get a lot more exemptions. Unfortunately for me, I had to start from F1, so I had to start from applied knowledge papers, and you'll get through. I'm currently doing the strategic professional level at the moment, so you will get through, trust me, you'll get through. So after you've done that, after you've registered, you've paid your registration fee, you have your registration number, you can be able to set up your myACCA account online, which is where you manage all your exams. You can enter exams using this account. You can see your results. You can basically track, you can even see invoices, any transactions that are going on in your account. It's as your own portal where you can log in and see anything to do with that's related to your ACCA registration. So if you'd like to download your transcript, things like those, you wouldn't need to get in touch with ACCA directly because you can just log in and get all of those documents by yourself. Of course, if you have any exemptions that you qualify for, you don't need to sit for the exam. You'd need to apply for the exemptions. You can check what exemptions they have online on the ACCA website, or you can reach out to them and let them know. So during the registration process, when you're highlighting your qualifications, you should also look into what exemptions you have, as this will help you determine at what point to start. Are you starting from the very beginning, or are you starting from F4, F5 level, for example? After you finish your registration, the next 2 steps are based on your preference. So you can choose your learning provider at this stage, or you can book your exam at this stage. So I did the latter. So I booked the exam first before I went to find learning provider or learning material. Some people prefer the other way around because maybe they might even want to book the learning provider to book the exam for them because it's included in the overall tuition fees. It's up to you, it's down to your preference, but at this stage you can manage it however you prefer. So if you choose to select your learning provider first, I'd advise you choose an ACCA approved learning provider, and you can be able to see who these people are on the ACCA website. So if you go on the ACCA website and just type ACCA approved learning provider, you'd be able to find them. For me, because I self-study, that's probably why I also selected the exam option first. I just needed to get learning material, and I did get this question in a previous video about where I get my learning material from. So my learning provider of choice is Kaplan. I do not take any lectures with them. I do not take any online tutorials with them. I just I basically order for their books and I read, I work through any question guides that they have, I work through the study text, and using that I go and sit the exam. So I completely self-study. That's the option I've chosen. So you can self-study, you can go for lectures, or you can actually access already pre-recorded online material. So you can check all these packages on the learning provider's website. So for Kaplan, for example, if you literally just Google Kaplan, you'd be able to see what learning material they have or what learning packages they have. Other learning providers that I'm aware of is BPP. They also provide similar things. It would just be a case of price comparison or also their approach, the structure of their books. So for example, for me, I prefer Kaplan because of how they structure the books. I have been able to buy from both BPP and Kaplan, so I can compare, and that's just my personal preference. They're all ACCA approved, so they're all very high standard. So with either, you should be able to pass the ACCA. So if you're going for lectures or the other option, of course, you have to align that with the exam date that you're looking towards. So you can be able to book your exams on the using your myACCA account. So depending on what level you are, if you're applied knowledge level, you can sit these exams at any point of the year. When I did it, of course, at that time, it was you could only do it during the selected sessions, which was either March, June, September, or December. But now applied knowledge papers can be sat at any point. So if you're beginning from applied knowledge, which is the first level, then you can literally do your exam tomorrow. But of course, don't sit for the exam tomorrow. Sit for it when you're ready. But I'd advise you have a target date so that as much as you reaching out to your learning provider, you align your lectures with your exam date other than the other way around. If you're doing any applied knowledge, applied skills papers or strategic professional papers, they're only sat 4 times in a year, which is March, June, September, and December. So you'd need to plan ahead of time if you'd like to sit an exam, for example, in June. There's usually early bird fees, there is standard fees, and late entry fees. So this is usually, of course, depending on the time. Early bird, you get a discount. So if you'd like to register, if you know ahead of time that you'd like to do June next year, you can register for that now. You can be able to see on the myACCA website if registrations are open for that exam. Take advantage of the discount. ACCA is a very costly qualification, so where you can save money, please do that. If you choose the option of self-study like I did, make sure to check out my video on tips on how to self-study. I give you some tips on how to save money when buying and purchasing the learning material. So make sure to head on over and watch that video, and hopefully that will be useful to you. Last but not least, I just thought I'd highlight the fees. You may be interested in wondering how much is it to register, how much is it to basically pay for an exam, register for an exam. Of course, because I have chosen the self-study option, it was the cheapest for me. It might not be the right option for you, because maybe you prefer lectures, your preferred way of learning is through lectures, and if you were to study by yourself, it might not be as successful. So depending on your option, any is okay, but the fees that I will be quoting will be for someone who has only paid for registration and only exams. Of course, books I buy as well, but I do not have any quotes for tutorials or lectures, etc. So I have just consider the fact that these quotes may have changed. This is from a while back. It's when I actually sat the exam. So when I registered, I paid a fee of around £79. That was a few years back, so of course that could have changed. And also something you'll note, the more advanced the exam paper, the more costly it is. So for exams, the applied knowledge papers are usually the cheapest. So I paid around £70 for the applied knowledge papers. Of course, a caveat is that those fees keep changing, and that was a while back for me. Then the next level of papers, which is F4 to F9, and now they're known as the applied skills papers, they costed around £90. So as you can notice, there's a £20 difference between the first level papers and the second level papers. And now fast forward to strategic professional exams, I pay around £150. And just for you to consider, remember there is early bird fees, there is standard fee, late fee. So depending on at what point I booked the exam, it may have been more on the costly side or more on the cheap side. But yeah, as you can see, it's a very costly qualification. So I'd advise you, once you decide to go on it, that you choose the option that works for you. Just work towards it, and don't worry too much about failing the exam. You can always resit, you can always prepare again, so it's not the end of the world, unless of course your job contract is tied to it, which it is the case for some people. But either way, I will be sharing more tips on how to pass your exams. Currently, I'm only remaining with one more paper before I can finish the theoretical aspect of it. Something to highlight is you will need work experience to be a fully chartered, 3 years work experience, but I'll cover that in more detail in a future video. Let me know any queries that you have so that I can make sure that my future videos on the ACCA are more targeted towards what you need. So that's all for today. I hope that was useful for you. You're ready to get started on your ACCA, and I wish you all the best. Let me know any queries, anything that I can do to help with your journey. I'll do my best to address your questions, and where I can't, of course, I'll direct you to the ACCA contacts. Otherwise, you have a good evening, day, morning, whichever time of day it is when you're watching this video, and see you on my next one.